Congratulations, Iain, on your recent article publication. So what led you to writing this piece?
Thank you. So it was a couple of other pieces that I'd written before that were reviews of youth sport policy and approaches to analysing the content of sport policies that then led me into this one. Through those pieces, I begin to recognise that the theories that had been used and were available to sport policy researchers were constrained, they were limited, because they didn't have substantial articulations of what sport policy might be or should be. And that seemed to me to be in contradiction to the fundamental orientation of sport policies, which are there to indicate the way in which policymakers and others want the sport world to be. And so this paper emerged from a recognition of that gap, and trying to look for ways to address that gap and help sport policy researchers in the future to address that gap.
Thanks, Iain. So what were the reasons for going for a theoretical orientation with this article?
So I think that I started from that fundamental point that our theoretical conceptual tools were doing some things well, but not actually addressing the problem that I was kind of recognised as a gap in the field. And so for me, the political philosophy theories were able to fill that gap because they take fundamental principles like justice, freedom, equality, and then from those argue about the way in which governing institutions, what they do and what policies they should be enacting. And then there's a range of those theories, but I chose one in particular for this article by Joseph Raz, based on his book, The Morality of Freedom, that really hasn't been mentioned in the sport literature at all, but is suitable to address some of the kind of limitations of sport policy research to date.
Thank you. What were the main outcomes or takeaways that you found from this piece of research?
So I wanted to exemplify the potential of political philosophy theories and use the exemplar theory of Joseph Raz to apply it to thinking about contemporary sport policy documents in the UK. And that leads in the paper to 5 ways in which I argue that political philosophy can advance thinking about sport policy. And 3 of these were directly from Raz themselves. One being a sort of benchmark against which different sport policies with very different goals, whether that be about youth sport or participatory sport or elite sport, and different approaches, they can all be kind of appraised against this benchmark of what Raz or other political philosophy theories thinks policy should be orientated to. And second, it allows examination of the coherence of these aspects across a particular policy, and equally addresses some of the limitations of sport policy in being able to say to what extent government should intervene in sport and in which ways should policy distribute resources. And Raz was able to help us think through the UK sport policies in that light, as that and other political philosophy theories can do with other sets of policies in the future.
Thank you. So you talked about the outcomes and takeaways, but what were the main challenges you experienced while developing the article?
I think the challenges is the sheer range of political philosophy theories that are available. I had some background in this whole discipline previously, but I spent a huge amount of time reading and working out both how to frame an article such as this, with its kind of wide-ranging kind of concepts, but equally what might be the most appropriate theory for this particular article, which ultimately I came to work with Raz. But I do see, therefore, that this is only one small part of the jigsaw going forward. There's lots of those political philosophy theories that could be applied in the future.
Thanks. You mentioned that this was just a small part of kind of a greater puzzle. So do you have any other plans for future research in this area or topic?
Yes, I think in the end of the article, there's a kind of couple of advances to sport policy research that I suggested that Ras probably can't fulfill, or Ras's theory probably can't fulfill, but other political philosophy theories can. One being about global and international sport policies and what would justice represent in them. And a second article that I hope to follow on from this one takes a bit of Ras and linked theory to kind of examine more fully, or make an argument more fully about what that theory suggests that sport policy should be in a national context in the future. So that's the kind of follow-up that I would anticipate taking forward from here.
Thanks, Iain, and congratulations again on your article.
Thank you.